You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Welcome to Light and Shadow, a podcast about the complex themes presented in the horror genre. I'm your host, Nicole, and it's time to share another dark tale. Welcome back, friends and weirdos. It's officially spooky season, and we're back for another installment in the Fundamental Frights series. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Disney Channel classic Tower of Terror from 1997. And I'm joined tonight by a good friend of the show, making his triumphant return, Soju. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on the very first week, what feels like to me of spooky season. It feels great outside.
Yes, and you and I had some struggles. It's been a journey to get here. Like, we rescheduled this like 3 times, but I think it was a blessing in disguise because we were going to record in August, but it's officially September, and I definitely feel like this is the right time.
Yes. And I specifically, the movie that we're going to talk about today, I specifically chose it because it's kind of like a hidden Christmas. Nope. Halloween. Sorry. Hidden Halloween movie. And so, yeah, it really did kind of work out perfectly for the timing.
Yeah. Last week, I believed I called it a soft launch. We're going to soft launch Halloween this month. I'm excited about it. So all of my listeners have heard me go on and on about Straight Chilling. I mean, then they know who you guys are. They know that you're podcast family. But for anyone who may not know, please tell the folks about Straight Chilling.
So I am 1/3 of the horror podcast Straight Chilling, and we just entered our 12th year. So we've been doing this for 11 years, which is crazy. And somewhere in the 500s, maybe close to 550, I think, episodes. And we just do weekly horror movie reviews. And we've been doing that for a long time. Every now and then we'll break out into some maybe horror series and stuff like that. And we do some special YouTube content. I've had you on for some special horror adjacent coverage. And you've been on countless times on our podcast, and you're one of our longest running collaborators, I think. So yeah, that's Straight Chillin'.
Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier today, and I think I've known you guys for almost 10 years. I think we met in 2016 or 2017. I'd have to go back and look, but it's crazy how long it's been.
Yeah, well, I moved to Korea in 2017, so I think it would have had to have been before that. I moved in June, and I so distinctly remember that day that you came over, and we just met. I remember being like, I was like, somebody's somehow listening to us, and which thinking about now at that time, it seems really crazy, you just kind of showed up, and we've been friends ever since, which is really awesome, actually, really, really awesome, because that was way before podcasts had like taken off. And meeting people on the internet can be super sketchy sometimes. So look at us now, 10 years later.
I know, it's been great. And just, getting to know you guys, and then having the Slack channel and that community blossoming, like it's been a really fun ride. We've met so many cool people along the way.
Yeah. You were the first of the fam, and now our fam has grown and is super special to all of us. So yeah, thank you for kicking that off.
So, but before we talk about Tower of Terror, I want to know a little bit about just your general horror background. So how long have you been a horror fan, and what's the first horror movie you remember seeing?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a tricky question because I feel like everybody else in our group kind of has a cool, fun connection to horror in the sense that like there's somebody in their family who kind of sneaked it to them maybe when they were too young or showing them stuff. But I never really had a strong horror influence as a kid. And I think if you'll notice that when we have control, like when I can take over a poll or I can pick the movie, or when I want to watch some stuff with somebody for a special discussion, I often gravitate towards things that like this that have a kind of like a gateway horror type of feel, because as a kid, I loved Halloween. I loved the Goosebumps books and, you know, having that little taste, but like it was never anything that I could get, especially at a young age. And so I even remember at very young ages watching, the Treehouse of Horror from Simpsons, and that having a kind of like big impact on me. And so these just little tastes coming in was my introduction into horror, and it has stuck with me as like me kind of like being very appreciative now that there was that type of media out at that time so much in the 90s to kind of get me into that. But I mean, it's hard to say. I remember the first time going to the theater to watch a horror movie was The Ring from the 2002 one. I remember that one. I remember the kind of anticipation going into that one. And one of the first I remember sneaking like VHS ones was 13 Ghosts, the one with Lillard in it. But like I do have like fond memories too of somebody maybe watching X-Files in the living room and me like, you know, catching a little bit of an episode, or, you know, my mom watching like I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream or something like that, and me kind of catching a little bit. But that was just kind of not really their thing, though. It's not like they were always watching the X-Files or always watching horror movies. So it was just these little bits for me.
And you're the oldest, right? So you didn't have like an older sibling?
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't have an older sibling or anything to show me the way. No strong horror influence in my life, unfortunately.
Did you corrupt any of your younger siblings?
You know what's awesome, though? Not directly, because I think, you know, I have such a huge family that there's literally like different generations, I feel like, in it. But for the younger generation of my brothers, I'm really happy for them too, because one of the things that they used to love when they were younger, and my dad encouraged it and loved that kind of time, was watching The Walking Dead on TV as it was coming out. And we have pictures of them all like watching on the TV when they're like pretty young, and with my dad, and those are really special. So now, even without my direct corruption, but they a lot of them support the podcast and listen to us and talk with me through chat. And it's definitely a way that we've grown closer together. So at this point now, a decent chunk of my siblings really enjoy horror and discuss it with me often, which is awesome.
I love that. Yeah, I have, you know, family members and close family friends that it's kind of the same. Like they know that I like scary stuff, and there are people that I don't talk to hardly ever about anything, but they'll text me when like whatever the hot new horror movie is, they want to know what I think, you know. So that's really fun. So now that you've become just a big giant horror nerd, do you have a favorite kind of like subgenre or type of horror movie that you gravitate towards?
It's hard to say since I cover so much. I'm definitely like seasonal, you know, just in my natural state. So I'm always regulating the calendar on the podcast and say like, oh, this is not appropriate time to watch it. So if anything else, I would really say I really appreciate the seasonal. I mean, not even seasonal, but just like summertime horror movies in the summertime. And, you know, now it's autumn and like just bringing in all these spooky stuff. So now it's time for, you know, The Witch and your Halloweens and stuff like that. But I would say I do really like historical kind of pieces. I know they're more expensive and harder to do and not as like popular, but I mean things like The Witch, like I just really love being put in some time where people really did kind of believe those types of things and that they were like so real in people's minds. I think that's really fun and fascinating that fear it wasn't just some kind of like game of like, ooh, this house is haunted, but like, no, really people thought there was somebody out in the woods and to them that was real. So, yeah, I guess that would be it. But there's not really one genre I dislike, honestly. Not a picky guy.
Yeah. Just as long as it's good, it doesn't matter what subgenre it fits in.
Yeah, yeah.
You are the passengers in a most uncommon elevator about to ascend into your very own episode of The Twilight Zone.
Okay, so moving on, a little bit of background on Tower of Terror. So this movie is based on a Disney ride. It is based on one of my favorite Disney rides. I love Tower of Terror. And even though it's been legit like 30 years since that ride opened, I think it's still one of Disney's best. They've done lots of cool things in the last decade, but that ride is hard to top. So have you ridden that ride? Are you a Disney theme park fan?
So I actually have not ridden that ride. I've never been to that park. You're
from Florida.
I know. And I was thinking
Wow.
about that when you posed this question on the outline before. I was like, why did we never go to that one? Because I've been to so many of them. But I mean, of the Disney ones, I know they've added some since I've left, I believe. But I think I've only been to Magic Kingdom and Epcot off the top of my mind. But I mean, you know, we would often go to Universal as well, Islands of Adventure, SeaWorld and stuff, of course. So I mean, yeah, I went many times, but I don't know why we never really went to. What is it? MGM? Is that where it's at?
It used to be called MGM, and now it's just called Hollywood Studios.
Oh, okay.
That's a whole rabbit trail. Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
So Hollywood Studios now, that's where like the Star Wars and all that stuff is. But there's this one street that is themed like 1930s Hollywood. And the whole atmosphere of that whole section of the park is really cool. It's all the vintage neon and stuff. And at the end of the street is Tower of Terror. And of course, it's really dark, but it's got the purple and the magenta lights on it at night. And I first went to MGM Studios in 1998. And so this ride had only been open a few years. And it was the first thing we went to. So it was like the first thing I did on my very first Disney trip. And being a Twilight Zone fan and being a horror fan, I mean, I was like in heaven because this ride is so well themed. I mean, way before you ever get on the ride, the lobby has cobwebs and it's dusty, and I can like smell the ride right now. It smells like dust and old metal. Like, it's just one of the best things I think they've ever done. Even if I wasn't a horror fan, I think I would probably still feel that way because it's just the atmosphere in it is so great. So when I saw this movie, and I think this movie came out in 97. Like I said, I first went to Disney World in 98. And I feel like I didn't see this movie until after I had already been to Disney World, because I remember when I first saw this movie, I was like, I feel like I'm at the ride. Like, I feel like I'm home. And like, it made me all excited just because I felt like I was back at Disney World. But so when did you first see this movie?
I don't have a specific time, but I was a kid. So, I mean, I assume I watched it when it came out, and I had the VHS. And because I had the VHS, I remember watching it regularly, which is kind of like one of the reasons why I picked this. I assumed I would probably have been around 9 when it came out, I think. And so I watched it. I mean, in my memory, I watched it a lot as a kid. Looking back now, maybe I watched it for a couple seasons, you know, of until I became like a preteen or something like that. But yeah, I remember watching it quite a bit around the ages of 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, so it's just one of those that you just remember from your childhood.
Yeah.
It was just there. Yeah.
It's just there, yeah.
Yeah. So what of all the movies you've seen and all the movies that are important to you as a horror fan, what made you choose Tower of Terror? Like, why is it a fundamental part of your horror experience?
Well, it was a couple things. One of it is it was maybe 2 years ago. I just randomly remembered that this film existed. Like it just at one point it left my life and didn't come back until 2 years ago. And at that time I was so excited because it's like unlocking these pieces of you that are kind of like gone in there. But then you revisit it and you see it in a new light because you're a new person. But then there's almost like this piece of you that is locked away inside of it, that you come back to and you're like, oh, that's not only is it this movie, but it's like, oh, that's myself a little bit in the kind of feelings that come back up. And that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to, because I don't have a lot of experiences like that anymore. A lot of the things you love from your childhood, once you become an adult, you have the money to kind of go back out and revisit it and find it again. And this has been the latest one that was just kind of lost. I came back to, and I was like, oh man, it's a Halloween again. It's a Halloween movie. And I knew you love Disney as well. And actually, as soon as I remembered it a couple years ago, I thought of you immediately. I was like, we have to do this for the Creature Comforts, because I was like, this nobody talks about this as a Halloween movie, from the same time Hocus Pocus is the big thing. And that, of course, is rewatched and rewatched. But I was like, man, even the idea, one of the reasons I want to pick this too is, even though I'd never ridden the ride, the reputation of the Tower of Terror, I knew what it was. I knew it was sold as this like amazing ride, but also this amazing ride with this spooky vibe. And I think that is really important for us kind of like 90s kids to like remember just how good like we kind of had it in like being able to be exposed to these things at that time. Just so many good gateway horror things, even just like I knew from commercials, I guess, or just reputation. We had no internet. So I just knew that Tower of Terror was this awesome spooky ride. And so I kind of wanted to just capture all those things together and covering this with you, a big Disney and horror fan together. So, yeah.
When you mentioned this, it was kind of the same. I had forgotten this movie existed. And so when you brought it up, I was just like, I'm flabbergasted. That's the best word, because being a Disney nerd and all of that, and forgetting that this movie existed, even though it's based on one of my favorite rides, like it was a delight to be able to revisit it. So that being said, without further ado, let's dive in to Tower of Terror.
Tonight on Disney.
Checking in.
Check into a haunted hotel and meet some ghostly guests who never quite checked out.
This is the most incredible story in history.
Catch Steve Gutenberg and Tower of Terror.
It's already done. The spell is cast.
Tonight at 8:30, 7:30 Central, right after Halloween Town on Magical World of Disney.
Journalist Buzzy Crocker, once fired from the Los Angeles Banner for a false story, now works for the supermarket tabloid National Inquisitor. He is aided in his work by his young niece, Anna. One day, elderly Abigail Gregory visits Buzzy, recounting how, on Halloween night in 1939, 5 guests at the Hollywood Tower Hotel, singer Carolyn Crossan, actor Gilbert London, beloved child star Sally Shine, her nanny Emmeline Partridge, and bellhop Dewey Todd vanished when lightning struck their elevator. Abigail claims Emmeline had been a bitter witch whose curse misfired, trapping them all as ghosts haunting the hotel. Intrigued, Buzzy and Anna explore the shuttered hotel, discovering both a spell book and the rule that the curse could be undone if events of that night were repeated with the victim's personal belongings. Buzzy and Anna enlist the help of Q Todd, the hotel caretaker and grandson of Dewey Todd. Q is reluctant, but he decides to help his deceased grandfather and the 4 guests, especially as he stands to inherit the hotel if the mystery of the 1939 event is solved. During their investigation, Buzzy hires an actress, Claire Poulet, to fake ghost photos for his paper. But Claire turns out to be Carolyn Crossan's ghost in disguise. The spirits attempt to frighten off Buzzy, but Anna insists on helping them. Meanwhile, Buzzy's ex-girlfriend Jill, still an editor at the Banner, researches the story and discovers that Abigail was not an innocent witness, but Sally Shine's jealous older sister. Resentful of Sally's fame and ignored on her birthday, Abigail casts the curse, which doomed the elevator passengers. She has since lived in a sanitarium, but is released on day passes. Realizing too late, Buzzy understands that retrieving the victim's belongings and repairing the elevator has enabled Abigail to complete her spell. Buzzy and Jill rush back to the hotel, but they are too late. Unaware that they are about to walk into a trap, Carolyn, Gilbert, Dewey, Emmeline, and Sally enter the repaired elevator. Anna runs in, but only Sally makes it out of the elevator before the doors close and the car begins to move. The group confronts Abigail, who then tearfully admits her actions before Sally appears. The elevator continues to move up, but gets stuck on the 11th floor again, with only minutes left before the final phase of the curse takes effect. Sally explains that the party at the Tip Top Club was a surprise birthday party for Abigail and apologizes to Abigail for not being able to get to it. Sally has kept the present she wanted to give to Abby, a golden friendship bracelet with 2 hearts engraved with their names, assuming she would forgive her. Abigail is distraught at her mistake, but does not know how to stop the spell. Buzzy, Q, Jill, Abby, and Sally board the service elevator, catching up with the others on the 11th floor. Anna manages to leap from an emergency escape hatch, rejoining Buzzy and the others, but at exactly 8:05 p.m., lightning strikes the hotel again and both cars plummet towards the basement. Amid the chaos, Sally and Abby reconcile, breaking the curse. As they hold hands, they both dissolve into a shower of golden sparkles that safely stops both elevators just before they crash. At last, the ghosts make it to the Tip Top Club. Carolyn performs one final song and Gilbert proposes to her. One by one, the 5 elevator passengers and the lost partygoers ascend peacefully to the afterlife. Abigail, restored to her childhood self, thanks Sally for the bracelet before vanishing with her sister into golden light. With the curse broken, the Hollywood Tower Hotel is restored. Q inherits the property and reopens it to the public, while Buzzy and Anna, having helped heal the past, look on as the once haunted tower regains its place in the present. And they all lived happily ever after. So I think my first question for you to kick off this discussion, watching this movie now as adults, do you think this is a good movie?
You know, I think this can still be a good movie for kids. Mm-hmm. When I was thinking about when I actually was watching this, I was like, yeah, this is quite appropriate for a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, 7, even younger. I think you could go quite young with this movie, like pretty young, honestly. 4 or 5 would be fine to be watching this kind of movie. I was a little kind of disappointed in because I knew it. Actually, I'm a little conflicted. I knew it was a Halloween movie, but it's set in California. And anytime you do that, it never looks like Halloween. You know, you want those autumn spooky vibes. But I will say that I think it is a fun introduction to this kind of subgenre of like kind of hotel horror, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's not that good, but it's not bad either. But it's not bad. Yeah. But it's nowhere near the levels of, you know, like Hocus Pocus or Casper or something like that. But I don't think it's a bad one, and I think it's an easy one to have very small kids watch, and it'd be a fun Halloween, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be Halloween, just a fun kind of spooky watch for them for that. So yeah, in that realm. What did you think revisiting it? How was it for you?
Honestly, I was kind of pleasantly surprised. I expected it to be kind of like cheesier than it was, or for it to not like hold together as well as it did. I found myself kind of like being charmed by it, sort of despite its shortcomings, you know, because it is like there's a lot of cliches going on, and like you know, Steve Guttenberg's character, I mean, his name is Buzzy. Like that sounds like a 40s tabloid writer, you know. So there's a lot of things like that that are kind of really obvious but super charming at the same time. And I think even the end being like so sweet, I think really is still appropriate, like you said, because this is clearly it's a made for Disney Channel. It's clearly a kid's movie. So the fact that everything ends on a super happy note, I think is appropriate. And I think it balances out pretty good because like there's a woman in a black robe with an evil book casting an occult spell.
Yeah.
Like I was like, wow, they're really going for it here. Like they're not sugarcoating the evil parts of this story. So yeah, I actually, it was kind of better than I thought it was going to be. And like you said, I think this is great for kids, like no notes.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things I was like kind of surprised, and I'm glad it stuck around, and even being able to be like, oh, I do feel comfortable recommending this, is I mean, Steve Guttenberg, and here, when I tell people, I was talking about it on the podcast, I was like, this is a movie, it's got Kirsten Dunst in it.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't just some, you know, popped up on the TV and it's just got a bunch of young, no-name people. I mean, at this point, she had already been in Jumanji and stuff. Yeah, I mean, so it's like the cast is solid there, and it's a full movie too. I couldn't remember in my mind. I was like, is it a full 90 minutes? And it's like a full hour and a half. And yeah, I think kids would still really get a kick out of this these days.
And I actually, like, for the most part, I liked all the characters. And I really liked Uncle Buzzy and Anna's kind of relationship. You know, he's the hapless uncle that doesn't want to grow up and is kind of goofy, but she loves to hang out with him. And she's dressing like an alien and helping him do his stupid, ridiculous job. Like, I think their dynamic was really cute. And I was happy to sort of like follow them through this movie.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a kind of even I have this kind of bit of jealousy a little bit, because the way a lot of people, especially like in our Slack, talk about it is like that's her horror influence, right? He's dressing her up and all these creatures and taking pictures of her as a ghost and as a monster and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just, you're right. It's really cute. And how her mom's like, don't hang out with him. And now as an adult, you can be like, yeah, he's a bit of that uncle or whatever. But it is very cute, especially when you're a kid and looking up to somebody.
Yeah. And I was also surprised by a couple of the other cast members. Like the actress is Jan from The Office.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Yeah. I was like, it's Jan.
Oh my God. I didn't piece that together. Oh, that's blowing my mind right now.
Love it. And another fun bit of casting. So the bellhop. The bellhop who disappeared, that is the same guy who played Isaac in Children of the Corn.
Is that John Franklin? Okay. I haven't seen Children of the Corn in a long time. Oh, yeah, but I see his face. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I kept thinking, I was like, why does this guy look familiar? And finally it hit me. I was like, it's the corn.
Yeah. So this has, okay. And I feel like the Mrs. Partridge, she looked like really familiar, but I forgot to look her up. Her name is Wendy Worthington. But also I was thinking about there's some elements of this film that were like kind of appropriate for its time, because she kind of reminded me of the woman from Matilda, the principal, the mean kind of principal in Matilda. But they're definitely different actresses or whatever. But I guess she hasn't been in anything too significant. She just looked very familiar.
Yeah, I thought the same thing about her, that she looked familiar. Maybe she looks like somebody else.
She was in Good Burger. Maybe that's what it's from. Another 90s. She's in Catch Me If You Can, maybe. So, but I can't place her. But yeah, I mean, so yeah. But Kirsten Dunst, Steve Guttenberg, Jan. Yeah, it's got some good actors in here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the acting was like pretty decent for the most part.
Yeah, I had no problem. Actually, I mean, I had no problem with the acting. I really didn't have any problem with any of it. Nothing stuck out as bad. They don't even try to do too many effects. I guess if anything, I wish there are fun moments where they do try to like ramp up the spookiness and then they pivot away from the ghost and they go more to the spooky old lady. But maybe I just wish there was like a little bit more time in the hotel. I do love the aesthetic of the hotel.
Yeah.
It's, that classic old style. What would it be, like 40s? Would it be 20s or 40s style?
It's like 30s, 40s.
30s, 40s,
Probably
yeah.
more 40. I mean, I think in the story, it's supposed to be 1939. So it would be, it's that bridge of 30s, 40s kind of, I guess, like Art Deco style is what it would be.
Yeah, I feel like that had, maybe it was the 90s or the 80s that like really kind of pushed that style because now I have this like nostalgia for it. And it looks so beautiful. And so I kind of want more time in the hotel, if anything.
Yeah. Well, and they used Tower of Terror in like all the lobby scenes or the ride, the actual ride. A lot of those exterior scenes are the actual ride. But I do wonder if we don't get as much hotel because like the rest of it doesn't exist. Like, they would have to like, build the set or whatever. So maybe that's part of the reason why they didn't bother. But I loved how I could recognize like every single little area, like the place where Abigail is like performing the spell at the end. I recognized the lamps in the ceiling. Like that's when you get off the elevator and get off. There's this big hallway. This big empty hallway because people walk through there. I was like, I know where we are. And it was the same thing when they encounter the guy on the gurney with no head. Like I recognized that area as like a specific part of the ride. So they really utilized the actual ride as much as they could. And I think it's really a testament to the production design of that ride that they were able to use it for a movie.
That's a movie,
and it
yeah.
Looks convincing. Yeah.
Looks clean. Yeah. Because they do spend it. I guess it's mostly in that lobby. They go into the basement. We go in the elevator and we spend a couple time on one of the higher floors or whatever. But yeah, it looks great. It looks dusty. One of the things I wanted to mention too before, you were talking about the smell of like rides. That is one thing that I do love about theme park rides. It's like so many of them, not only is it this visual aspect, it's like smell. And when you smell it, you almost like become a kid again. That is a really cool aspect of it.
Yeah, like so many people talk about the water on Pirates of the Caribbean. They're like, it's that smell,
Yeah, it's so distinct. That's so wild. That is weird.
And another note about the vibe of just this movie is it reminded me, there were parts of it that reminded me a little bit of House on Haunted Hill, the 90s version of House on Haunted Hill. I was like, there's a similar tone here. Of course, House on Haunted Hill is R-rated. It's much more adult, but they both have this sort of goofy approach.
Yeah.
And they both have this sort of vintage, except House on Haunted Hill is definitely more of a 40s thing, but they're sort of in a similar time period. So I was like, this might be a good double feature. I don't know what group for, but for me.
If you haven't seen this movie in a long time.
You're going to dip your toe in with Tower of Terror, and then you can watch House on Haunted Hill. Yeah.
I do that. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen House on Haunted Hill. Yeah, I'll probably throw that on my list this year. Yeah, I'll go back and revisit some. It's been a while than those 90s bangers.
Yeah, that movie is like real tacky, but I think it's a blast during spooky season. Fun, yeah. I love it. I'm like, and I know it's flawed. I love it anyway. It's kind of like 13 Ghosts.
Yeah. Well, and another thing about this one too is, I feel like there's so many examples of like 80s camp where you can have fun with the horror and stuff like that. So that's another good testament of like linking these things together, because there is this element of being able to have fun with the horror, like these. Again, I kind of go back to the idea of like Goosebumps when we were kids too, like reading the Goosebumps. And it's these almost like silly ideas, but that's what you need to get kids interested. You know, you need it to have a touch of that danger so they're intrigued, but you can't bog it too down in the seriousness. So I think that this film really brings that element to, you know, when we start off with their dynamic of, you know, it's not real, you know, I'm a fake monster and I'm taking pictures. And that seems like so fun as a kid. Oh, what? I want to take pictures and pretend to be a monster. And it carries that tone, I think, throughout. And then it does have the heart, too, with the kids and like the birthday party. And like, even though she's an evil witch, like she's got this kind of understandable motivation to it, and it all kind of works out in the end. I think it's a good, nice blend of like fun and sweet, but with the horror elements.
Yeah, I have that in my notes too, that this is like a typical like boilerplate ghost movie, like ghost story. Yeah. You've got this spell, it's got to be on Halloween night. You got to take an object from each person. We've got to cast a spell. We have ghosts appearing as regular people, and then we find out, oh, she's been the ghost all along. So I think there's like a lot of the classic ingredients in here that, like you said, an 8-year-old's probably never seen before. And so I think that even though it sort of ticks a lot of like basic boxes, I do feel like they constructed it really well. And even as an adult, I still enjoyed the story. Like it's a good little story. And it's all that classic like dark ride and or, you know, haunted house stuff. But I do also like that there is sort of like a little lesson to be learned here, you know? Like I love the twist per se of the old woman is actually the villain. But I also love that like the lesson is basically like, don't be bitter, kids, you know, like don't be jealous. Like maybe if you are patient and you expect the best out of people, things will work out good. You know, you don't have to be jealous and like bitter. So I was like, well, that's a fun little lesson tucked into this goofy, you know, scary movie.
Yeah, I like the lesson, but I also like too, you feel when the old lady, it helps too. I think it works on both ends, because when you get the reveal, I think that they do it well, especially for a kid's movie of, you know, going into her room and finding on these like crazy pictures and then her doing the crazy like laugh. I love how like over the top it is. But too, she, you know, when she really is just like this sweet old lady, like in real life. And watching it now, but I remember this as a kid too, her saying like, it was just my birthday. And for one day I wanted people to recognize that. And I think that is so relevant for kids. I think any kind of kid has felt that. And even as an adult, like that still lives in your core of like, oh, like there's just one time that I want people to kind of give me the attention. I don't need it all the time. I don't need to be the center. But I thought that was really sweet and a good way to like give her some motivation that felt relevant, but at the same time being like, no, you don't cast a spell on people. Like, you don't take your revenge for them. It's okay to feel that way, you know? But yeah, it's a cute little lesson, I think.
And I also liked how like Sally giving Abby the necklace like breaks the spell. Like that felt to me like very much sort of like a true love's kiss type ending where it's this magic thing. She gives it to her and that, you know, everything sort of like magically is right again. Again, that's the kind of stuff that like on its surface is like pretty cheesy. But I think for like a kid's movie, I was like, it works. Magic is fine.
Well, one element that I did like that they utilize, or the way that they used it, which I thought was kind of surprising this time around, because I was like, I feel like they would do that differently. But I love how the little girl doesn't recognize her, because that kind of hit too. She's an old lady. There's no way she would resemble a little girl. And I feel like most movies would have the kind of like little girl look up and be like, oh, are you my sister? But I love like for the longest time, she's like, who's this old lady, and talking about her sister if she's not, like, I thought that was pretty sweet too.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. And so then at the end, when we see her as the little girl Abby again, and we got to see them together, I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, I kind of also too wish, if anything, if I was going to have a little bit more well, I don't know. I feel a little conflicted about this. I don't know about the property rights and all the things, but this is based off of the Twilight Zone, and they don't really, in the ride, they have the narration and they present it as if it's kind of like, and I thought it was a little strange that they didn't try to incorporate any of those elements, at least that I'm aware, into it. But again, I don't really know what the property rights and like, what are you allowed to do? So it could have been a legal thing, but yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer, I guess.
I would have loved that, but I wonder if it's just with this story of these 5 people in this elevator. It's a pretty full story, so I bet you they could either choose to go like the Twilight Zone way, or they could choose to tell the story of the people in the elevator, but kind of not both. Also, since this was made for kids, there's no way that most kids in the mid to late 90s would be familiar with the Twilight Zone.
Randy's like the only one. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. I'm a little older, so when this came out, I was 14. I'm not old enough to have watched the Twilight Zone, but just growing up liking spooky stuff, I don't know how I was exposed to it. I guess it was just on TV, like on syndication, but. And then specifically when I was a teenager, me and my best friend, they used to have a Twilight Zone marathon on Sci-Fi Channel over New Year's Eve, like for 3 days. And we would binge it like every year. So I was familiar with it a little bit when I was a kid, but then, yeah, as a teenager, I became really familiar with it. And now I love it. But for their audience, I'm sure they were like, it's a lost cause.
Sure, yeah. And I was doing a little research on the ride too, because I didn't realize that when Rod Serling narrates the ride, they had just taken all pieces of his like voice from different things. I was like, damn, that was like pre AI now that we're all worried about. But at the same time too, I was like, well, I guess maybe they could have tried to use the same narration from, if he opened up the episode, but then it would have felt like the Twilight Zone. So I was like, well, yeah, I guess that's really kind of hard to work in there. So
yeah, it's really impressive, like the way that they did piece it together. Because part of it is Rod Serling, and then part of it they took from like the introduction of an episode, and then part of it is just someone doing a Rod Serling voice. Okay. And it's almost indistinguishable on the ride. Like you can YouTube the intro or whatever, and it's really impressive that they were able to do it that well in the early 90s without the technology that we have now. So I have no doubt they could have pulled it off if they wanted to. But yeah, I think it's mostly just they were like, oh, there's enough going on. We don't need to do more.
I did watch several videos of now you can watch like people riding the ride or whatever. And yeah, because that was such an infamous one. And they built other rides that are like it, where you go up in a big tower and it falls and it goes half. But I do like the element of it being inside and contained there. I don't know. It gives, there is the element of just being really, really high when you go on those other rides, but to be inside the ride, I don't know, there is a different fear kind of going on. Like you can't see it. You don't know exactly when it's going to fall. I love how the doors kind of open though and give you a little peek of how high you are though, but you're still, I don't know. I like the idea of it being inside. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it is neat. And also like the first time you ride it, like, so you get in and you go up a few floors and like you stop at all the different floors, but then you go forward, and in an elevator you don't expect to go forward. You only expect to go up and down. So like that's a really cool touch. And then especially like when you ride it at night and the windows are opening and you can see out like across the park, like it is so fun. And It used to be it would do the exact same thing every time. And then, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they revamped the ride to where it's randomized.
Oh.
So you don't know exactly how many times you're going up and down. How high are we going this time? Like, you don't know. It's random. So,
Cool.
so that is a lot of fun. And like your butt lifts off the seat a little bit and you're like just floating for a while. So it is like a very, it's a very fun elevator ride.
Well, I do like how they made that a part of the movie too. At the very end, of course, the elevators fall. That's the big suspense of, oh, the curse and my niece, she's in the elevator and we got to get her. And then they actually like fall. I thought, I was like, oh, this is so fun.
Yeah.
As a kid, having not even ridden the ride, not been to that park, I knew about it. And so I even appreciated that like back in the day.
Yeah, I was nerding out because like throughout the whole movie, they're on the main elevator, like the lobby elevator. But on the ride, the whole thing is that you go into this boiler room and you go into this back room and you get on the service elevator. So whenever they were like, oh, we can get on the service elevator, I was like, yeah, this service elevator, like a big nerd. That, and then at one point, they give Q a bellhop hat, and it's the same hat that the employees wear, that the cast members wear. They did a lot of like little bitty Easter eggs like that to where if you know the ride, you know it. If you don't, you know, you wouldn't register it. But I loved those little touches.
Yeah, and I guess they have been trying to make a new like movie based around Tower of Terror.
Yeah, I've heard this.
So, and I was reading some actress is attached. Scarlett Johansson is attached, and she was somebody was asking her like, "Oh, how is it moving along?" And she was saying like, "Oh, well, it's kind of really hard because there's not, a lot of like deep lore. I'm not lore, but like story to kind of build off of." And I was like, "We have a '90s movie."
Yeah, we did it already.
Yeah, it's been done. Not to say that they wouldn't need to like redo some of this, but one of the things too, I was, it was just a year or two ago when that new a Haunted Mansion movie came out, and one of my biggest problems with that movie is we're talking about a Disney ride here. And I mean, I guess it's kind of the same with this movie, but there was one kid in that movie who acted like an adult. And I was like, where's the kid aspect? We need to, we want to attach like Scarlett Johansson to this movie. But back in the day, one of the big selling appeals was, oh, this is Kirsten Dunst. She's from Jumanji. Like that was a big kids movie that came out just a year or two before. Yeah. And you need that kid element. I mean, this is a theme park. I know adults love theme parks too, and it's okay to have that element where adults can like it too. But I really think that they need to try to recapture that kind of magic, fun, goofy element of it too.
Yep. Completely agree, because I mean, you're not going to come out with an R-rated Tower of Terror movie. You're not going to come out with an R-rated Haunted Mansion movie. So sure, it needs to be thematic and scary and all of that and have those moments, but it needs to have the feel of a fun kid family movie, I think, to like tonally hit the mark, Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if that, comes to fruition. It seems like they've been talking about it for like many years. And I do wonder if like just sort of because Haunted Mansion sort of tanked. I wonder if they're like not quite ready. They're like, let's put out our next Pirates movie and see how that does.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll revisit this idea. But I personally would love to see somebody take a crack at it,
Yeah, me too. Disney does that. I mean, we've talked about Dark Disney, and they don't have a whole lot attached to it. So it's always nice when they try to take what they do have already established and kind of build it out in a proper way.
Yeah, it's always it's great when it works out, and it's really sad when it doesn't.
It gets really sad because we have less chances. Like you said, it's like, oh, Haunted Mansion, oh, it didn't do good, or they didn't make such a good movie. It's like, well, when are we going to get another opportunity to have another horror-esque, spooky type of, like, we don't get chances that often with Disney. So I feel like they need to nail it like every time.
They do. They really do. So you know what? Disney, just keep taking your time. Just wait for the right script. It's fine.
Yeah.
We are patient. We'll wait for it. You know?
And also, we don't need Scarlett Johansson to be in a Tower of Terror movie. Like, you can, it doesn't have to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem. Maybe the stakes are too high. Mrs. Highest paid actor in the world. Maybe we don't need her.
Yeah.
Oh, so is there anything else you want to discuss? You ready to jump into final thoughts?
Yeah, we can jump into final thoughts.
All right. Kick us off.
Yeah, I think that people should encourage their kids or young people in their life to dip their toes into spooky things. I think these days it's in a good way. Like, I don't have kids, so I can't say it's like, oh, how careful people need to be. But I think in some aspects of media, I look at and I say, oh, in the 90s, we would have taken a little bit more risk. Not to say that this movie is risky in any ways, but even as you said, oh, they're talking about the occult and she's casting a spell and she's this evil kind of witch type of character. And that's okay. That's kid stories. It's okay to say occult and stuff like that. And yeah, I would just do your best to introduce kids to spooky things and let them enjoy the spooky season. And I think this is a good one to test them out and to seek out those things. A lot of times people worry like, oh, is this too early for someone to do horror? But I mean, I think there's a lot of elements, a lot of movies out there, a lot of media that play it really soft like this. I think this can go almost as young as you can get and actually comprehend what's going on. It would be okay to watch this movie. So yeah, I checked this one out. It's super hidden, not well known, not even on Disney Channel. I watched it it's on YouTube. Where did you watch this? On YouTube?
Yep.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Kids love to YouTube. Throw it on. And just seek out more. There's a ton of stuff like this from the 90s. And there's a time I'll recommend some more modern stuff too. Yeah, show your kids, young ones, lead them down the path, I would say. And this can be hopefully a good one for you to do that with.
Uncle Buzzy Soju recommends that you...
Yeah, always Uncle Soju, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very, very similar. Like I said, I had a really good time watching this movie. The vibes are good. Love the set design. Love how it feels to be at the Hollywood Tower Hotel. I think the acting was great for a Disney Channel movie. It had all of the great spooky vibes for a haunted hotel movie. So yeah, same. I think this is a great early gateway horror film. This is a good one, like you said, to test the waters with. If it scares if your kids start crying, let's wait a couple years. But if they love it, then yeah, there's plenty of other things to move on to. But I think this is just a great, solid, fun, sweet little haunted house movie. And I'm glad you brought it.
Thank you. Thanks for covering it with me. We're gonna go. Eventually, we'll go through all the dark Disney things that are out there.
I know. I was like, I feel like Soju has like a plan because we did Pirates of the Caribbean. We're doing this. I feel like there is then I made you guys watch Escape from Tomorrow, which is
yeah.
Which is an experience. So on that note, if people like Tower of Terror, what else should they watch in that vein?
So I think it could go either way. So I have a kind of like list for both. Okay. So I do really like, even though I was saying like, oh, it's a Halloween movie, but it's not the Halloween vibes. But I really am intrigued by the hotel horror. I think that's such a fun subgenre. And maybe because a lot of them do lean into this kind of style, this prevalent like Art Deco style exists in a lot of the hotel horrors. But so you have things like, of course, The Shining, The Innkeepers. It's not the best, but it's one that I am happy to revisit, is the season of American Horror Story. It's season 4. I think it's season 4 where they're in
5.
the hotel. Season 5.
Yep.
Hotel, it's got Lady Gaga in it. It's got vampires. It's got a bunch of different things in it, but
It's my favorite season. I love it.
it's cool. It's really sexy, and it's got a cool hotel. And that is, I would recommend people check that out if you're looking for some more hotel horror. There's another one too that I think is a movie that was really good when it came out, and I was surprised it didn't get as much buzz as I thought it would. But it was Bad Times at the El Royale, and it's not necessarily horror straight up. It's a bit of kind of like a Tarantino-esque mix with horror. I would say thrillery kind of thing. But I think that's a really fun hotel movie that not a lot of people I feel like a lot of people know the title, but they haven't watched it. And then the other aspect is kids horror, like gateway horror, stuff that's appropriate for kids. And actually similar to this, there is actually a lot more modern things. I actually really think that those Hotel Transylvania movies are quite cute. Have you ever watched those?
No, I have not.
They're pretty cute, and now it's kind of the season for them. It's the monsters, and they run this like hotel, and it's got a bit of a Munsters kind of vibe to it because it's all the different kind of monsters, and one of them's like just a regular or like her boyfriend or whatever. Like it's about mixing the monsters and regular people and stuff like that. So they're actually quite cute of the ones I've seen. I think they have like a lot of sequels now at this point, but yeah, they're quite cute. And actually that movie that came out, it's got Jack Black in it before he was in fucking everything, but The House with a Clock in its Walls kind of has similar vibes. That was from 2018, I think. And I think that one's a fun one for kids. And then, of course, the old classics, your Caspers, your Nightmare Before Christmas and Hocus Pocus and all those. Just anything that's appropriate for kids. Oh, and then the Addams Family too. I feel like even though Wednesday is huge now, the 90s Addams Family is doesn't get as talked about as much like Hocus Pocus these days and stuff like that. So go back and watch those Addams Family movies. They're awesome.
So I kind of did the same thing. I've got categories here. I only have one hotel horror, and it's one that you didn't mention, and that is 1408. Which is another one of my loves. It's a Stephen King short story adaptation, and I thought of it during this movie because it's that same concept of a skeptic turned into a believer. Except it's actually scary, but that's a great one. Love that one. As far as like more kid or family friendly stuff goes, The Witches is a lot of fun from 1990. That movie disturbed me when I was a child, but also delighted me. So it's hitting right in the perfect spot. I would say Haunted Mansion 2003. That movie, it's really funny. It's the one with Eddie Murphy. And like when that movie came out, it was pretty much considered not a good movie. But over the years, I've seen people like sort of like reevaluate it and like give it a little love because it's real goofy. It's real campy. And I was in my 20s when I saw it. And so I didn't love it. But then after seeing the latest Haunted Mansion from 2023, I was like, I think we were closer in 2003.
Made you appreciate it more.
It did. And I was like, so yeah, definitely. I think the same crowd that watches Tower of Terror could watch Haunted Mansion 2003. Also another dark Disney movie, Something Wicked This Way Comes. That movie is genuinely scary, I think still. But it's still pretty tame. And then I have a couple of recommendations that are not movies. There's a podcast. It's a horror story podcast called Creepy, just Creepy. And they've done a couple episodes. One is called Mayhem Mountain. And it's about these teenagers that they purchase a theme park and they haven't opened it back up yet, but they're just going to go like enjoy the rides, and something really unsavory happens on one of the rides. So that's for adults, not for kids. And there are a ton of like Disney World creepypasta stories. And I've listened to not all of them, but lots of them. And my favorite one is called Grad Night in the Haunted Mansion. And you can also find it on the Creepy podcast. So always love to revisit those episodes during this time of year.
Is there any special like Disney creepypasta or like lore specifically around this ride that you know of?
Not that I know of. I know that on Haunted Mansion, people have taken their loved ones like ashes and like during the ride will like toss it over the side.
Oh my God.
And yeah. And also Haunted Mansion has been opened at Disney World since I can't remember, early 70s. So it's been there longer. Tower of Terror opened in, I think, 93. So I think it's maybe not old enough yet to have any ghost stories. And like, I don't think anybody's like died on it or anything. So all of the Tower of Terror spookiness is purely aesthetic.
Gotcha.
But I love a good Disney urban legend. Like,
yeah, I'm surprised. I thought even just with the spooky nature, it would be a kind of natural one. People would develop some stories around.
You know, right? You think somebody would just make something up. So now I feel like I need to go poking around the dark corners of the internet and see what I can find. Or maybe I need to get on Reddit and create one.
Yeah.
So we briefly mentioned the Twilight Zone, so do you have any favorite Twilight Zone episodes? You said you weren't familiar with it when you were younger, but have you watched more of it now?
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of even another connection. I had mentioned it earlier that I didn't grow up watching the Twilight Zone either, but it's crazy. About 6 years ago, we started covering the Treehouse of Horror on our podcast for the Halloween season specifically, and we'll do like 4 seasons a year or something, one for each week. And as we were breaking those down, I did grow up with those as kids, and it was kind of fascinating to realize how many of those early Treehouse of Horrors were spoofing, were parodies of episodes of the Twilight Zone. So
really,
through that, I was like, wow, I actually am familiar. So most of the ones that we ultimately covered for The Simpsons, I would go back and watch. So I've never just sat down and watched the whole like season of Twilight Zone, but I do know a lot of those. And one that's always stuck out in my mind too, and I went back and revisited it recently because it stuck out in my mind. We were covering Joyride as well, was the Hitchhiker from season 1, I think it is, which is a really good one. So yeah, that one's fresh in my mind these days. But there's some really great like disturbing or like ones that just kind of like live in your mind. The dude with the last man on earth or whatever, and the one guy who wakes up in the pig faces and everything. Like there's a couple key ones that live in my mind for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy how relevant that show still is, and it is really a delight to see how it's permeated pop culture still. Like a lot of people know things from the Twilight Zone and they don't even realize like that's what it's from. And I do love that, but it's hard for me to even pick favorites because I forget certain ones exist. But The Masks is probably my all-time favorite, and there's lots of reasons. 1, because the mask designs are really cool. 2, it takes place, I think, on Halloween in New Orleans, and it has such a great ending. And I won't say what it is because if you haven't seen it, you have to go watch it. And it was the first, and maybe only, but definitely the first Twilight Zone episode directed by a woman. So I already loved it. And then when I came across that fact, I was like, I'm all in. But I also love Number 12 Looks Just Like You, which is like sort of a dystopian tale about how every woman, when she gets to be a certain age, like 18 or something, you automatically get this makeover where you get this beautiful, perfect body. And there's this one girl who doesn't want to do it. And she's like, I don't understand why I have to look like everybody else. It's just, it's a one of those that like really makes you think. Love Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which is There's Something on the Wing.
Yeah,
everybody knows that one. And then I love The Grave, which is a Western episode.
I don't think I've seen that one.
And that one's good. You'll have to go watch it. Again, I won't tell you the end, but this man, so they're in this like remote sort of like saloon, and there's 4 or 5 people in there, and this guy comes in, and it's like record scratch. You know, everybody's like, oh, he's back. And you find out that he killed this outlaw, and everybody is daring him to go out and visit this outlaw's grave. And you can kind of tell he's hesitant to do it. And so the whole episode is this banter about, oh, go out and visit this grave. And aren't you like, why aren't you brave enough to go? It's just, and it's also got a really great ending.
And you love a good Western, too. That's another one for you, too, the Westerns.
I do. And I don't have, I mean, there's tons of Westerns I haven't seen. I feel like my knowledge of Westerns is still very shallow, but I do really like Westerns, and I love a good horror Western. There aren't a ton, but when we get something like Bone Tomahawk, I'm in. And it's kind of like, I think the same way that you like the period pieces. That's the thing with Westerns is they're these really cool, like little time capsule period pieces. So I enjoy that a lot.
A warm welcome back to those of you who made it, and a friendly word of warning. Something you won't find in any guidebook. The next time you check into a deserted hotel on the dark side of Hollywood, make sure you know just what kind of vacancy you're filling, or you may find yourself a permanent resident of the Twilight Zone.
Well, Justin, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been fun, and it's been something different.
Yeah, I always try to surprise you each time, or just kind of play to your interests. So yeah, it's always a fun discussion because of that. So last time we were talking about Jesus, and now we're talking about Disney. So those things, two things go hand in hand for some people I know. So.
So remind people where they can find Straight Chilling, and then also like you've got another podcast. So tell us about that one too.
Oh, yeah, I do. I do too many things. I do
one
fill my
podcast
time
is
up
never
too
enough.
much,
Yeah.
yes. So, yes, if you are interested in horror movies, you can check me out every week on Straight Chilling. We're at straightchilling.com, straightchillingpodcast.com. You can find us everywhere. And yeah, we're no signs of stopping. We got a huge back catalog. So if you have a favorite horror movie, we've probably covered it. And yeah, and if you like music, I do an Arctic Monkeys podcast where we go track for track through the entire discography of Arctic Monkeys. So it's quite niche. But if you like that band, you can hear us talk about the lyrics and musical breakdowns and stuff like that each week. That podcast is called Don't Believe the Hype. And if you're ever heading towards Seoul, I love to introduce people to some of the awesome aspects of Seoul and really fun places you can visit if you're ever traveling in Korea. And you can find me on YouTube at The Seoul Scene, where I do Korea mostly, some Japan and stuff too, tour guides where people can plan their Korea trip if you're coming. And if you're coming, hit me up and I'll show you around town.
We have a friend who's living in Vietnam right now. And I told David, I was like, we know somebody in Seoul. We know somebody in Vietnam. Like, now is the time if we're going to go to Asia. We need to go while people we know live there to give us.
Yeah,
give
it
us
would be awesome to have you here. You have to come in autumn time. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. So what's the weather like there right now?
This week, it really just started getting cool. It was quite a hot, intense summer, and it was quite humid even up until last week through much of the day. But these days, mornings I'm in Celsius, which this morning it was 16. I can't remember what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's cool.
You've been there long enough. You don't remember Fahrenheit.
I can't convert. Yeah, I can't convert between the two, but it was chilly. It was chilly and no more humidity anymore. So yeah, it's pleasant. It feels like it's got that fall like taste in the air almost. Yeah, that like you could feel it in the area, that crisp vibe. So it's nice. It's nice.
You know what's wild about that is like that is the exact same weather we're having in Arkansas right now.
Nice.
Like it was hot and humid, and about a week ago, we had one day that the high was like 69 degrees, the high. So we're back in the 80s now, but like in the mornings, it's cool and it's not sticky anymore. So yeah, same here. We're tilting towards autumn. It's great.
So 16 degrees Celsius is 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So this morning it was 60 outside. So that was nice.
Ooh, lovely. Well, folks, thanks so much for joining us for this Halloween season kickoff, the soft launch. Next month, I'm going to be covering one of my personal favorites, Creepshow.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a classic. So I think it's just going to be me. I might have a guest on, but I think it's just going to be me. Either way, it's going to be a fun time. After that, I plan on taking a break for the holidays, but there will be like some bonus things. I have a couple little bonus things I'm going to throw in there, but probably no full regular episodes until January. But anyway, for now, we got to make the most of the coming weeks, people.
Oh, yeah. This is the month. This is it. This is it right here.
Get out there, drink your cider, find the perfect pumpkin, visit a haunted house, watch Creepshow, and until next time, stay spooky.